trying new hardware. So networking, self-tracking, 4K, HDI, which overwhelms your bandwidth and your legacy technology no longer connects with the. It's like a All right, and welcome to today's garden class here at Waters Garden Center. We are so glad that you all are here online with us. We love our VIP customers, though, virtual in person. Thanks for being here, everyone. We got about 30, 35 people here, whatever it is. So welcome. Today's garden class is very plant heavy. And what I did is, even earlier, I just curated 3 kind of plant mixes. There's 3 kind of basic styles that people garden with. So I show those off. So I've got a shady mix, a hardcore, I like pokey Arizona things, and then more hardy Midwestern. I like it hardy, but I want it to look so pokey. So those 3 things. And I tried to pick a grass, a vine, a shrub, and a tree. So you got all 3 heights. Maybe a ground cover too. So we'll go over that, how I put those things together. Why, if I were talking to you, I would kind of walk you through, go, let's put these together. Look, they look good. So we'll do all that in about 50 minutes, and then I'll have time for food. This is maybe small enough to see how gregarious you guys are, gals. How interactive. We might be able to take some questions on the fly. We'll just see how it goes. If not, I'll shut you down, but wait till the end. How about that? So, okay, who am I? Hi, I'm Ken. I own the garden center. So I'm the 2nd generation owner of Waters Garden Center. So how does Ken Lane come to own Waters Garden Center? Well, Harold Waters started the garden center back in 1962. It was the very first garden center in northern Arizona. Back in the day, in the 50s, 60s, it was basically a bunch of garden centers up on Baseline Road in Phoenix. That was it for the entire state. But Harold wanted to live up here. And so he moved, he packed the station wagon. The story is the way he tells it really well. I had a shovel, a station wagon, and a trailer, and I borrowed a wheelbarrow. And I started a landscape business. The next year he opened a garden center. The good thing is, Harold over the years had 4 very happy daughters, and I took a liking to the youngest, prettiest, and that's how Ken and Lisa Waters Lane comes to own Waters Garden Center. So we've been doing this for 31 years now. Again, corporate world, as a corporate banker, as a marketing director for Facts. So credit reports. That's what I pitched credit reports to bankers and auto dealers, and it was boring and high stress. Talking to board members about we only sold 103,000 credit reports. I wanted to come back home to Prescott, Arizona. So that's what brings us back here. Small business owner, Prescott, Arizona, that's us. I don't know if you heard, I was dancing for the stars last weekend. I should have brought the award we had. I'll send you the video of the winning dance. But we were winners. Carrie Hughes and I. Carrie, thank you very much. There we go. So we won the dance deal. We're the Billboard Dancer Award, we actually got the most sponsors. We raised $68,000.
Nice.
Just us, basically, just me. And then the whole group raised $466,000. So all that money goes directly to there's 2 boys and girls clubs, one in Prescott Valley, one in Prescott. And it's a needed program in our community. It's at a Latchkey Kids. We have them go to here. We help with homework and after school programs and summer things that happen. So it's a great cause. And so you can't go wrong with helping the kids, right? So this weekend, if you hear a bunch of noise going on, this is where I get stretched thin sometimes. Actually, I don't know how to say no to the community. We're having Grapes for Good this weekend. So for the last 17 years, I've donated the garden center to Prescott Frontier Rotary, and they have a big garden party. It's a big deal. And they'll probably last year they raised $124,000 in like 3 hours, and they're done. And all that money goes to the Prescott and Bradshaw and some other school districts, basic school district stuff. Schools are in need, and so we're trying to help the teachers and the kids and that kind of stuff, and we have the ability to do that. And so I heard, if you want to come, there's like 30 tickets they'll have at the door. There's like 30 tickets left. There'll probably be 350 people here. So if you wanted to come, it's fun. Bring a friend. It is a hoot. It's Barry Barbie. He owns El Gato Azul, Tormes. He's a very famous chef in town. Really good. He's been catering for the last 5 or 6 years, and he pairs food with the wines they've got picked, and there's a theme to it. It's a fun gig. And then there's auctions and stuff, and you try to give money to the cause. Anyway, that's what's going on with the noise over here. That's Sunday after hours, 5 to about 8 o'clock. That's when we'll go. So, and it's a beautiful time at the garden center. It is glorious as the sun sets over this greenhouse. It's pretty nice. So anyway, that's what's going on. I have 3 handouts for you. I've got one which I thought fit for this. It's javelina had been a problem, so they're digging things up. You're getting into stuff. So I've got the javelina resistant plant list. I'm gonna email to you. It'll be a PDF, so you can just open it up on your phone, your laptop, your desk, your iPad. You can open it up on anything. I'm gonna send the 4 steps to fertilizing. Next week is autumn. You really need to fertilize your landscape in autumn sometime. It's the most important feeding of the entire year. I cannot emphasize that enough. And so instead of just pushing you going, hey, you need to do this, getting on my soapbox, I'll just send you the handout, just do this. And your plants will be more glorious than the other plants your neighbors have in their yard. You can tell who the gardeners are down the road, because you can go, oh, that's a garden, look at that. That's a maple, and that's a maple. There's different, your evergreens especially. If you want spring blooms, you need to fertilize now for the spring blooms. Because the lilacs, the forsythia, the quince, the fruit trees, anything that blooms in the spring, rhododendrons, hydrangeas, they need this food to form next spring's flowers. It's not like it should be blooming now, fertilized. No, plants are slow. They take time to absorb that. Evergreens, they're starting to form their buds or their buttons, the spring growth now, and then that will just elongate into this new growth, and it uses the food now to do that next spring. It's really important. And then I just wrote an article. I'll send you the URL, the link, but it's the end of summer to-do list. It was just picked up by the press. This is Prescott E-News. I'll send you that link. Signals AZ, the Courier, they all pick it up. This is the one that just went out. It's just my to-do list, basically, of what I do to kind of help the gardens land in a healthy way and set the stage for this winter's evergreen. So those are the handouts. How many this is your first time here? Whoa! First time to Waters Garden Center, first time to Prescott, first time to... Wow! Well, welcome. I'm glad. So the marketing's working. Garden classes, we're the experts. We can help you garden better. That's our goal, actually. I'm going to give the javelina one to this one. The 4 steps to fertilizing. Who is that? Who is new over here? There you go. There you go. Everyone's going to get it. Don't feel left out. Everyone's going to have it in their email list. So I'll tell you how to get it. And then I was going to, I won't hand that one out. Okay. So, I have my email list. There we go. So this, get rid of that. Man, is it humid today? It's like the humidity is off the charts. What is that? I don't do well when it's above 10% humidity.
I agree.
I start to feel like I'm swimming or something.
That's why I live here.
Oh my gosh.
You should try spending a few days in Houston.
If you want those 3 things, put your email down. And if you could, last week, some of you needed help. Please take a moment to write clearly, because some of your handwriting's terrible. I go, what are they saying? What is that? You try to guess, and it's kind of garden-esque. You kind of go, oh, hydrangea grower at Gmail. Just try to print clearly, and I'll make sure. I'm probably going to input those this afternoon and send them out to you.
We signed last week. Can we do it? It's only for
No, this is only for, so if your question is, if she's part of the garden club, if she signed up last week, is it going to all 11,000 people? No. It's only to you. So, because I don't want to clog up everyone's email box. So, you're interested in the topic. Oh, and I brought this. Who is a new person back here? Do you have a CD player, like in your car or at home? You actually play CDs? Oh, so Paul Ayers is a band member of Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Wow.
He's kind of famous locally. He also works here. He's my horticulturalist.
Oh.
This is where I'm that's his evening gigs. This is his real job. It's one of those, but he's part of Peter, Paul, and Mary. If you hear them play at like the Elks or something, you should go. It's all music from Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Yeah.
The band members' names are Peter, Paul, and Mary. It's wild. But he's a really good guitar player, very good vocalist. And I had him sign it for you. You notice that? So there you go. Welcome to Waters Garden Center. Glad you're here. And I don't know if he's on Amazon. I don't know how you get more of those. I just said, Paul, I want one. Can you sign it? I want to give it to a class. So there you go. That's all it is. Okay. To the topic. Here we go. Let me get a sip of coffee. Take a moment. Gather myself. Let's start with the really hardy stuff, the native stuff. Now, a lot of folks move here, and they want to look like Phoenix. I have news for you. We're not Phoenix. So all that stuff that grows down, don't buy your plants down there. They'll do really well up here through the summer, and come winter, they all turn to black mush, fall over, and die, and they're not coming back. If you're from Southern California, Palm Springs, Tucson, and you're bringing your succulents up with you, those tropical, beautiful succulents they're famous for, I have more customers bring those. I'm bringing my collection. I've got them named. I've had them for decades. These are my babies. They bring them, plant them, come winter, and they die. So what you really need are plants that are a zone 7 or lower. That's a hardiness thing. So zone 7 is plants that can go down to about 10 degrees, 5, 10 degrees, without freezing and dying. It's the amount of antifreeze they have in them, basically. So zone 7, zone 8, so you folks out in Prescott Valley, really dewy, Humboldt, Cordes, Cottonwood, Sedona, that's a zone 8. That's plants that go down to about 15 degrees. I flirt with some 8 stuff in my own yards, and I'm up above the high school, I'm at 5,400 feet. So I'm right there at the snow line. When there's a storm coming, like down the street, I go, there's no snow there, and I'm buried. It's right there. So, but I still have a few of the barrel cactus, some of the things that I just want to, I'm a gardener. Don't tell me what I can or cannot grow. I'll figure out a way to cover it and nurture it, bring it in, take care. I'll figure a way. So, but really, if you look at the tags, zone 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're good. So, like a lilac is a zone, I think 3. Goes down to minus 30 or 40 degrees. It's like Minnesota stuff. But it'll take that kind of cold, which we never see, but it also loves growing here. Very hardy, very robust plant. Crepe myrtles, they're a zone 5. So they'll go down to 0. But they'll also go down to 20 or 10, or so zone 7, 3, or lower. As soon as you get up to 9 and 10, those plants don't winter over for us. So don't waste your energy or time unless you're going to take that citrus tree, which is zone 10, and then have it in a container. And you're going to bring it indoors every winter. And have, by the time you get done, you have this huge tree in the middle of your living room. That's just not going to grow. Go with peaches, pears, apricots. Go with the things that grow outside and thrive here. So that's not today's topic. Just letting you know, these are the plants that are hardy to grow outside here, no matter what the winter's coming. Now is a great time to plant. So fall is for planting, autumn's the best time. You hear this all the time. It's true, especially for big plants. Spruce, pine, your conifers, the big Arizona cypress. I need a privacy screen. Now is the time to plant that, because it's going to root. You're literally, the roots are going to extend an extra foot, 18 inches between now and the end of the year. It's going to use all that extra root to grow next spring's growth. This is really important for evergreens, because you only get one shot at evergreens. They grow in the spring, and whatever you get, that is it for the year. And then you get to do it again next spring. So certain plants, it's really critical. Big shade trees. Maples are famous here. Aspens are famous here. Raywood ash, sycamores. There's a whole series of big shade trees are really famous here. And you're starting to see the leading edge of fall color.
Yep.
Another 2 weeks, it will be autumn. Of course, next week, I guess it is officially, the calendar says autumn. And you can sense the days that the sun is shifting right now. And so the plants are reacting to that. So you're going, okay, it's time to start thinking about going to bed for winter. So those are the deciduous plants, things that lose their leaves. Okay? So, but now's a great time to plant those, and the reason being, you get the root growth, you get all this other stuff, but really, garden centers are bulking up right now, because we know when those aspens go into that beautiful fall gold, people are going to go, oh, that's pretty, I want one. And so we're going to make sure we have those for you. So the selection is more in the fall of the year. We have a lot of maples all the time, but we'll have more and bigger sizes this time of year. Whereas in spring, you see, they've been at the farm for like 5-10 years. They flushed their growth this spring, and you would have bought one that was this big in the spring, and now they flushed. Now it's this big for the same price. So you get kind of more plant for the dollar. Some of you, you're big spenders, like, I don't care, I want the biggest one. I don't have time to wait, I want big. We've got those too. So, and then we got everything in between. You get the selection is really good right now. And I'll explain some of those things. Okay?
When does it stop? You said plant now, but when do you want to stop?
So what is the planting season?
Yes.
The most popular planting season is spring. It's not the best time. It's the most popular time. The reason being, gardeners have been pent up sipping, baking cookies and sipping tea for like 4 or 5 months. And they're bored. They just want to be outdoors, and they just go garden. And so that's when all the tomatoes and all the flowers kind of go in. The next best time for your big plants, whenever the monsoon season starts, usually it's in August, sometime, when the rains start, the humidity kind of goes up. There's some cloud cover, and plants love both of those. So the edge takes the edge off, so you can start planting then. So we've been in this fall, really monsoon planting season, and it'll kind of go through about Thanksgiving. Then it starts to get cold. So the ground it doesn't freeze, but you'll put plants in, and the soil has cooled to where they aren't rooting nearly as much. They'll root like crazy between now and Thanksgiving. Sometime in December, you'll kind of see that change. Kind of when that last, so when Bradford pears, that's the last tree to turn red in the fall. That usually happens the first week in December. It's kind of like it's officially over. Boom. The ornamental pears, actually all pears, are turning their color. It's kind of when that ends. It's kind of like, yeah, that's the end of it. So nature will tell you when the ground gets real cool, because they actually give you the signal. We actually plant here 12 months out of the year. We never stop. That's another reason this is a good time. We're actually bulking up right now at Waters Garden Center here in Prescott, Arizona. Come down and visit us. We know you're watching. Yes, you're allowed to go fill the coffee pot up one more time. We'll wait for you. We'll see you down here later. Anyway, so what we're bulking up right now for our plants, because at some point we can't ship more plants in. We need to bring them in, forecast how many we need to get through winter, so we can acclimate them now, so they go into our cycle, so that we have plants for landscapers. Basically, they go 12 months out of the year. They're going. We're not like Wisconsin. We don't have an 8-foot frost line where it's just ice for 8 feet. We don't do that. We might get an 8 millimeters, maybe, and then we pick through it, pull it over, and we still keep planting. So that's kind of, you have a great selection of bigger trees and that kind of stuff now. Best time to plant fruit trees, just because selection's so big. Usually we start shipping those in February through April. It's not that it's the best time, it's just that's when the crop rotation comes out and we can actually bring them in, and there's more choices at that point. So you'll see this cycle that happens at the garden center. We're coming off of the summer seasons of crepe myrtles, rose of Sharon. There's all this series of summer, things that are famous in the summer. And I'll show you a couple of those things. But as soon as we're out of the few that we have left, probably not having more until next summer. Because these things love the heat. They have no interest in spring and cold nights. And they like bright, hot all the time. That's what they like. So we bring them in then. Okay? So that's the cycle. Let's start with, do I have my chairs? So what to fertilize with, all-purpose plant food. This is actually made for here. I like the chemistry. I like killing things and making things grow. So the bug killers, the weed killers, making things grow. Whatever you do here, don't use synthetic fertilizers. We have so little topsoil. You're using like Scott's, whatever, I'll name them out. But, the petroleum-based chemical fertilizers, they just burn they burn worms to death. They're too hot for the little bit of soil we have. You really want to use organics because it's much kinder for the plants and for the mycorrhizals, the beneficial things that grow in the soil. If you've got some plants that are kind of stressed, let's say the leaves are burned, brand new, you just need more growth, more roots. Anything stressed out right now, I'm telling folks, also add humic. Humic acid is what it is. Humic acid. This is all natural. If you take a compost pile, you break it down to its last element, you end up with humic acid. Plants love, actually it's not the plants, the things that live in the soil love this. So worms, mycorrhizal colonies, things that enliven the soil. So when the plants look at that, they go, oh, the soil's really happy here. My goodness, I might as well send out more roots. So this actually encourages more root growth. This actually encourages more top growth. So you get both. So if it's stressed out, really good stuff. And I'll just start off with this. It's mum season. Get your mums. There's two kinds of mums, just so you know. So we're in perennial country. We have a lot of choices for perennials, grasses. We grow more herbs and easier to grow than anywhere else in the country because it's so bright and it's dry. So then we get all those disease, mildew, spots, that kind of stuff, the things that humidity brings, we don't have those. The challenge is in the summer, we have a hot cycle from June to July. There's this it's like brutal. And plants, all you need to do, that's our most difficult time to grow. If you can get plants to get through June, you're good to go. Just get them until the rain starts. So they don't have to look good. They just have to live. And once the rains come, they just ignite with new growth. So things like mums, things that have flowers, that have more flowers and foliage, they cannot take that kind of heat. Their roots cannot keep up with that many flowers. And so these kind of plants kind of wait until the fall season to start flowering, because now their roots can support all that top growth, all that flowers. So it's a strategic thing the plants have. So some of your prettiest flower perennials are in the autumn. And that's the reason why. Plants are genetically programmed to take advantage of the cooler weather. Now, I said there's two kinds of mums. One, there's a greenhouse grown mums. That's Trader Joe's. That's the big floral grade stuff. Those are not hardy to grow outside here. They're meant to enjoy and throw it away. That's sacrilege to gardeners, I understand. Me too. We grow ours outdoors. So there's a hardier variety of mum that's been grown outdoors with our water, our sun. And now these you can enjoy on the front door and then go plant it afterwards. And it's going to come back for years and years and years. You should get 10 to 20 years out of a mum. Okay? So there's two kinds. Pick the color you like. We don't sell any floral grade because we're dealing with gardeners. We know who you are. We know what you want. We're trying to give it to you so it actually comes back. But if you just an impulse by the front of the grocery store, almost guaranteed that's a greenhouse grown. It's meant to be super pretty. Maybe the flower's a little bit bigger. It's perfect, of course. Ours aren't perfect. They're grown outdoors. But ours keep coming back year after year. So just kind of watch that. Chrysanthemums, mums. Okay, let's start with, you got to go with agaves. Let's just start with this. Let's pick a couple. Put too many plants on there. You always have more material than you need, so you can cover the whole hour. You just don't want, you want to make sure you got too much, not too little. So saguaros are not going to grow up here. Basically, cacti don't grow up here. Prickly pears, they'll grow anywhere. And choyas, or jumping cactus, or teddy behind us, get near it, or it will bite you. So they're hardy. All those taller cacti, they have no ink. You look at them with a cold thought, they die. So if you're going to just don't be tempted. We do grow a lot of agaves, which the other name is century plant. They're the ones right now you're seeing a huge white flower stalk going up by the middle of it. And the rumor is they bloom once every 100 years, every century. That's the name century plant. Not really. If they're happy with a gardener, they might bloom every 20, 25 years. But it's a long growth cycle before they bloom. That's the reason they have the name century plant. This is the one that grows up on the Grand Canyon rim. Utah gensis. Or agave. What are the other century plants? That's the only two names they really have. Then they got different names like perii or artichoke agaves. Might have a name in front of it. There are a lot of agaves. There's some, like the one they make tequila with, that great big blue one. I have tried and tried to grow that up here because it is so magnificent, and I have killed every one. So I don't offer that to customers up here because if I can't get it to grow,
Yeah.
I know you're not going to get it to grow. So, but people keep wanting to try. They go to Phoenix, try, bring it up because it's so impressive. It might grow for a couple of years. The other one is palm trees grow up here. You have rumors of palms. What happens is we do have cycles where we're warmer. The winter, it's all about the winter. 10 years out, we finally get a harsh winter. It goes close to sub-zero, and then it wipes out. So they keep dying. The winter is what does it. So you want varieties of agave that are used to this. Grows up on it's happy. Don't overwater it. It'll be fine. And it will eventually have this ginormous flower that grows up. And then the mother plant dies. And then there'll be pups underneath it. And that's how they naturally grow. The way they naturally are thinking, I'm going to take over this mountainside is put on a huge stalk, fall over, be about 10, 12-foot stalk, fall over, seed or 12 feet out there, and my pups will keep me going over here. And that's how those plants are thinking. You notice, too, how the foliage is presented. It actually rain harvests. It actually When it rains, it's designed to bring the rain to the heart of the plant. So it actually is collecting more of what nature brings us. So it's trying to collect it. It's built for that. If you got grandchildren, don't put this by the patio. If you got rambunctious puppies, don't put this by the dog pen. They're going to get skewered. Or cut the. I've never tried cutting those off. Probably wouldn't make a difference. Just don't put it near where you're going to bump into it. The agaves. There are several varieties out here. All of them are hardy for up here, but that's kind of one of the most famous ones up here. You'll see this out in the wild. Yeah.
Is the desert spoon an agave? Is that big stuff?
Desert spoon does really, really well up here. Yeah. That's kind of related to this one. A couple of them. This is desert spoon. It's kind of a pokey. You'll see a lot of those around. They get about this big. I've actually got a double one in my backyard. It's spectacular. How it came up double, I don't know. But gardeners, you just have green thumbs. You have a way of making plants happy. This is probably the most famous of all the yuccas. This is soft leaf yucca. It has a flower that hovers, that gets about pretty big. And then it has a flower that hovers, big white flowers. It's a pollinator that hover above that. And this one, when it blooms, it doesn't die. It'll do it again every year. Every year it's going to bloom for you. And so it's not like an agave. When the mother plant blooms, it dies. It's all that energy. But the flowers only get 3 or 4 feet above the foliage, not 12 feet. I think it's probably the difference. When the flowers are all done, on your brooms, on your yuccas, just cut that flower stem off as best you can without poking yourself. Call it all good. Bear grass, that grass that's out in Fresca Valley, Chino Valley, there's a wild green, a real pretty kind of green grass. It's an evergreen grass. It's blooming white right now. When it gets done blooming, just take your pruners, trim it off, clean it up. That's all you have to do. Maybe fertilize it. If you do get fertilizer, you'll get more flowers, what will happen. But native stuff, you don't have to do anything to them. They just get more luscious with some more care. With a little bit of care, they become really outrageous, beautiful plants. Yeah. What's that? How do you kill a yucca? Don't do that. Oh, really? Oh, okay. So they do she doesn't like yucca. She wants hers gone. So you might partner up with someone that wants a bigger yucca. Maybe they can come harvest it for you. But they do have a fleshy root. So if you can just get that, you got a big old like carrot root. If you can get that root out, they will die pretty easily. And if you just chuck it, just get it close. Just take anything to chuck it out there, or Sawzall with a long blade. Throw it away. And then I got a poison down there, put it on the root. I'm almost embarrassed to say this in front of other gardeners. I can show you how to kill it. Just dab some of this liquid on there and it will not come back. So, but yuccas are very hardy. The most famous yucca is a red yucca. That's #1 seller. It's this pint size, smaller, but the flower, everything is smaller about it, but the flowers are red. So if you see a yucca that has red flower, that's what that is, red yucca. Comes in 2 sizes, this big, and then kind of knee-high, 2 sizes. And it does come in more than just red. It comes in yellow and pink and salmon and some other colors, but red seems to be, today's gardener wants red, tomorrow's gardener will want yellow. I just never know. So this is also a yucca. So we grow a lot of yuccas. We may not grow very many cacti up here, but we grow a lot of yuccas. Not all of them, but a lot. And so this is just the same thing in gold. This is really good if you have, like I would recommend some gold colors. If you've got that real dark chocolate mocha colored rock, which is popular right now, sometimes your green and blues kind of fade into that dark chocolatey rock. The lighter colors seem to pop better. So here you might either go with a taller plant like the soft leaf or the golds, because it's contrasting, rather than a red yucca, which has blue foliage with a red flower. If it's pretty individually or in a container, but out in the landscape, it disappears. Like, I know I have some, but it doesn't feel as good out there. These feel good. So I use a lot of gold in my gardens because I have dark soils. number one seller by far. So it's in there. But I had to give I almost didn't bring it because it's such a weed. This is in Every Landscape Needs One. This is Russian sage. You've seen a plant. It is deciduous. It'll lose its leaves. It almost becomes twiggy. Kind of go up. Doesn't look in the winter. It looks fantastic. Late midsummer through autumn. This is its time to shine. Now, everyone wants this to bloom like this perfectly without any care or maintenance. This is a high maintenance plant. It wants to reseed all over the yard. It wants to run on you. It wants to come up everywhere. So I find I tend to replace mine about every 7-8 years. I just go, that's it. You are not going to take over the whole yard. I want your roots. These are not meant to live forever. It's hard for you gardeners to understand. Plants can be for a season or 5 or 6 or 10, but they don't have to live forever. When they start to get mangy looking, they get kind of moundy, but they just have this, they're not as finessed. They look like they're just this wild thing. Probably it's time to dig that up and put a new one. Okay. Also, it's blue. It's pretty because the bees love it. Butterflies are on it. It's got a lot of positives. Javelina, don't eat this because it's got sagey to it. Anytime you hear the name sage in the name, when you got any herbal name, salvia, means that animals don't eat it. The plant has its program is put a scent into its foliage going, you know, if you eat me, I'm going to make you feel not very well. So just pass and go eat your neighbor's stuff. So, but they won't bother this. Rabbits, javelina, deer, pack rats, they're not going to bother Russian sage. So, okay. I like this with, if I were to pair it, I love the look of these together. This is barberry. It loves growing here. It stays short, so it'd be about knee-high, kind of mounding, purple foliage, but blue and purple are always classic. Blue and gold are always good together. And so, and then you're trying to get different heights. So this is a little bit taller, about hip high, this is shorter, about knee-high. So you get this birthday cake kind of tier to it. And then they just contrast with each other. And they both take the same sun, put it on the same irrigation, they're just watered once a week, and they're good. They're good plants for here. Full sun. I would say at least 6 hours of sun. I've had a couple of these where I started out in the sun and the trees grew, and then they're in the shade, and they start to lean, and then they fall over because they're trying to get to the sun. The other one I noticed, I had to trim mine back some. They were real tall. Then it started raining, and literally they got drunk on water. They got too much water, and they started falling over in the garden. Oh my gosh. And so I just gave them a haircut, took the weight off, and they perked right back up. Okay, I'm okay. Good. Let it rain some more. I'm okay. Cut off the irrigation. Don't need any more rain. Just let me go. And they're pretty now. So some things, a high maintenance thing. Over here.
A question about the sage. Does that do okay if it's in a pot?
So can you grow this in a pot?
Yeah, instead of planting it.
You could actually. You could grow it in a little bit bigger pot, maybe 14-inch like this. Probably what it will do is the hole at the bottom will try to run out that and grow into the garden. That kind of stuff, just don't let it do that. In the same container year after year, I've got some that are core, but I'm a gardener. Like, I don't know. Garden centers, because I think they're done unloading like tables and chairs, and maybe that'll help with some circulation. That's if I pick the right one, right? Yes. Yes, go ahead.
Other than the sage, do you have a recommendation for pairing with barberry that the height and the color?
Yeah.
The sage is going to grow.
Absolutely. I have an entire class of that today. Yeah. Get that out of here. She wanted to pair with barberry. barberry, something that's like Russian sage, but not. Barb, anything that's like pokey, you know it's probably going to do pretty well. Barberries have a little minor thorn, so when you're playing with them, kind of have leather gloves, probably okay. But these go together. This is false spirea. It's common name, or Coreopterus. Don't ask me how to spell that, just take a picture of the tag. But this one is a very much like Russian sage, but much finer. It's like a perfect little ball, about this high, about this big, consistently grows. The only thing I do is give it a quick haircut in the winter, fertilize it, and it does this. It's got a little bit brighter, deeper blue or purple to it. And it is much longer lived. It doesn't want to seed come up everywhere. It doesn't run. It keeps its bounds and stays where you want it to be. So this one goes really, really well with this. I love planting these two together myself. This is autumn sage. This is like the #1 hummingbird plant ever. Hummingbirds, the males, we were just like, no, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine. They'll be chasing each other around. They love this plant. This one would grow much better in a container than Russian sage. This is a great, because it's smaller. It's not as aggressive. So these two are great plants. Very full sun, bright. I mean, on top of those ridge lines, you folks with the views and the wind. These two will take that easily.
Animals?
Animals don't bother either one. Yeah. This is a wild grass. You'll see out like the dells, some of the areas around the trails. You'll see a wild grass. This is deer grass or Miscanthus. This is a native grass. It does really well here. Grasslands, we do grass really well here. This is the place to try it and see how to do it. Campus grass, that's one that's starting to bloom right now. It's a giant. It's like as big as a shed. There's great big white flowers. I don't plant. I have lots of grasses in my yard. I don't plant that one because I don't want to work that hard. And it's a short-lived grass, so it lives for about 5-7 years, and the center starts to die out. And once that happens, it's just a matter of you're going to dig it out, and it takes a backhoe to get it out. So it takes forever. So I don't like that. I don't like that big a plant that takes that much work. I'd rather go with this one that's only this tall, pretty red or pink flowers to it. It's a great little plant. And deer, animals don't bother it. Find them in the wild. This is, you see a big, like evergreen shrub when you're out. Taking that side by, it's evergreen. I would not plant this and put it on my drip system. I would water it by hand because it's that robust. Okay, so you just want an evergreen plant. It's pretty. This one you'll see growing wild underneath the oaks and the junipers. This is Virginia creeper. It naturally grows as a ground cover, but you can easily grow it up a fence, up a wall. It's pretty robust and a native, so you know it's going to adapt. It's most famous for that fall color, so it's going to turn. You'll see a vine here short. You see it just starting. In another 2 weeks, it'll be bright like fire engine red, and then it'll be deciduous. It'll lose its leaves. It has blueberries on it, pretty much big stone thing. Put this on there, it'll soften it right up, and it will adapt and do really well. It goes in shade, goes in sun, it's really adaptable. Yeah.
Is it invasive like ivy where it gets into your mortar?
This one is not
killing
like
the
ivy.
trees?
Yeah,
It won't
yeah.
be
No, it's not as invasive. Yeah, ivy wants to like come inside and have dinner with you. No, that's not that. Yeah. No. And then this one, this is Oregon grape is the common name, or Mahonia. Again, you can take a picture of the tags. This is an evergreen. It's famous for the spring because it's got holly leaves, so Oregon grape holly. It's not truly an ilex like a holly, but it has a similar look. It's hardier. Holly will not grow in the sun here. On the East Coast, that's hard to believe, but our sun is more intense. So it likes more shaded areas. This loves full sun. It turns a kind of has a red hue to it. It has this fall in the winter has this red, glorious color to it. Through winter, in more shade, it stays green. So it's a good little plant fruit. In the spring, it gets a real bright yellow flower to it. It's quite pretty. And those flowers will turn into a berry or grape. Thus the name Oregon grape holly. It is edible. They make jellies sometimes. You'll never get one because the birds think they've died and gone to heaven from the fruit on this. They just know it's a native. When you see it, go after it. They're trained for that. This one gets about hip high. So I've got three sizes: chest high, hip high, and ankle. There's three sizes of this plant. Pick the height that you want. Oregon grape. I'm just going to keep collecting some room on the table here. Let me take a moment. My camera's tracking my ass, aren't you? Sorry about that. Are you still with me? Yeah. Enough said. This is gopher plant or gopher spurge. You'll hear this name, white sap that oozes. It's got that. Only this one grows outdoors. Gets about knee high, spreads like a ground cover, and has a bright yellow flower in spring. So its claim to fame, gopher plant, the rumor is, the internet says, you can believe everything on the internet. What it says is plant one of these in the yard, keeps gophers away. That is not even close to true. It doesn't do that. Gophers don't eat this one, that's true, but I've had a gopher literally in my own garden come right up here, right next to it, and the thing that was right next to this. It is not, it keeps the havoline of the deer, the gophers off of it. But it's a good, strong, hardy, native-y kind of plant for here. All right, let's go to shade. Shade plants. Which some of you up in the forest, the pines, you got the north side of your house. There are some areas that are darker that are actually a challenge. It's more challenging to plant shade gardens than it is sun. Most of the garden centers dedicated to full sun, blistering hot plants. That's an easier garden for me to help you with. Shade is more, our choices just went down to, but I picked some of my favorites. This is probably the most famous for you Californians. This is called heavenly bamboo. So the domestica, the standard one, the one your grandparents grew, got pretty tall. And it had kind of bamboo kind of stems to it. It's too big for most of our gardens. So we've created or bred some shorter sizes. So plants are just like dogs. We can breed them till we get a small chihuahua. Once that plant bites your ankles, or we can get miniature schnauzers, or we can breed whatever we can create new varieties of the same plant. So this one's called Sienna Sunrise. It only goes from here, it only gets this big. And it's got a brighter color in the winter. So they're evergreen, but they're not always green. In the winter, they turn a bright red, or purple, or orange. There's different colors to them. So it has this drama to it. And then that red will start to go green again come spring. If it's in more sun, like full sun, the entire plant will turn this beautiful red. If it's in more shade, it stays more like this color. So it grows great in containers. And I got a container garden here. I'm right there with you, sister. I love containers. It's so easy. Have you tried to dig a hole in the ground yet? Yeah. Rent a jackhammer. It does make a difference. There's a little 35-pound electric hammer. It does make a difference. Or containers. Raised beds are big here. But Indiana, there's several sizes. Comes this big, this big, this big, or giant. Pick the one you like. But all really good for you, and animals don't eat this. It looks delicious. I mean, I want some ranch dressing to try some myself. But they don't eat it. So it's got a taste. It's got a taste. It's got a defensive mechanism. Well, speaking of our dog, that's Callie. Let's introduce you. Come here, Cal. Let's show you our little miniature schnauzers. This is cheating, puppy dogs and babies. Yeah, there we go. Can you sit right here and show off with us? Or are you going to go see your mom? Callie is an escape artist. She's actually brilliant. And she can scooch under things, and she's a digger, so she stays over at my office, which is fenced, and she obviously said, I hear Dad. I'm going to go find him. Found a way. I don't know how. I see other dogs in the back. She's okay. I don't know how. Kind of keep an eye. Okay, shade, shade, shade. Fine. Isn't that pretty? Gotta mention hollies. And these are my shade mixes right here. With all of these, love, 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 shade. Let's start with this one just because I just showed its cousin off. Remember I said Oregon grape, this taller one? This is the ground cover variety. This one you see growing wild out in Mingus. You'll see this, a plant has a holly leaf to it out in the forest. That's this one. Okay, you can grow this in your yard. I would not introduce this in the middle of my garden because eventually all you'll have is this. This chokes out all other life. No weeds will grow. So where I use this for myself, I have this magnificent alligator juniper in my backyard. I've pruned it up. I mean, this is like an 500-year-old juniper. It's huge, double trunked. It's magnificent. Junipers have a way of killing. They always have litter coming off, so their defense is nothing grows here except mine. This is my space, and they keep throwing off litter, branches and stuff to choke out or bury everything underneath it. It's a defense thing. It's going, I get all the water and food here. Don't try to grow here. This is one of the few plants that will grow underneath that tree and thrive. So I planted 5 of them underneath my tree, and then I uplit the tree, I downlit the tree. It's just character to it. It's like a showpiece. But I wanted an undergarden, underplanting underneath it with a piece of art. I got a beautiful piece of art underneath it, and I needed some green. This is one of the few things that grew underneath it. Everything else died. Hostas, all these other shade lovers. This one grows. But this is where it naturally grows in the forest. Oregon grape holly. I would say this is regular, traditional holly. This is for you East Coast folks. This is a pillar holly. Okay, it just grows like this, but also your English hollies, they all grow here. Hollies do well because they got a waxy kind of leaf to it. So they're very conservative with the dryness. They can handle the dry. So they'll take 10% humidity. What they don't like is our intense sun. This elevation is rough on them. So I would keep all hollies no more than 6 hours of sun, and they thrive. And keep them out of that midday, 10 to 2. I don't know what she's thinking. She's kind of happy just hanging out. 10 to 2 sun in June. This plant's not going to like it. The tag, when you read the tag, says, hey, it takes full sun. It will grow. Not true here. It's true out there, but not here. So that's where the environment can change a little bit. So plant in the right place. Isn't that great? Beautiful green to it. We're stocking up with hollies right now because it's such a famous holiday plant. Get the red berries. I'll usually take one home, put it by the front door. I don't even pot it. I just do this by the front door. And it just says the holidays. Sometimes I'll plant it. Sometimes I just throw it away. I just use it as a decorative, like a floral piece through the winter. This one is related to Virginia creeper. This is Boston ivy. It's more of an East Coast. It's actually a direct cousin of Virginia creeper. but it has a different leaf pattern to it. This is self-clinging. If you got a rock face or a wall that's north facing where you need to just that brick wall that feels like you're in a Russian cinder block prison or something, you need to soften it up. This one's really good at plant one there. This will literally grow 8 by 8 by 8. Self-cling just is easy to care for, bright red foliage to it, and loves the shade. So it does really well. Then I do this one. I'll get to that in a second. Let's do these two. So this is yew. So evergreen. It's actually a conifer. It's related to spruce and pine and that kind of stuff. It's got a needle to it instead of a leaf. But it grows tall because there's two types, a spreading and an upright one. So for me, how I use this, I've got a 2-story house, and where the garage is, it's 2-story stucco, straight up, no windows, no nothing, no character, nothing. Just 2 stories of solid wall. That's hideous. This is where we entertain, the hot tub, the grills, everything's back in the back. We love to entertain. I had to soften that. So I put a piece of art in the middle of the statue thing in the middle. I put 2 of these fixed yews on either side, so they're pillar-like. And now it's a story and a half tall. It's mostly green. I'm starting to get worried it might compete with the Eve up top. So I'll maintain that later. Now this is solid green all the time, and now all of a sudden it feels like a secret card. It feels right instead of this big architecture thing. It's now soft. So that's how you use it. This is called yew, Y-E-W. Yew. It gets red berries. It's green. Pretty much you get this, green. You get green all the time. This is what it looks like in the spring, in the summer, in the fall. This is what it looks like. Just it gets bigger. And the berries what? So the berries, I don't know if they stain. I don't know. I haven't found that. I've got to drive a walkway, like pavers, underneath it. I haven't found them to do anything, but test it for yourself. I don't know. So this is false holly. What's the other name? Goshiki holly. Or it's a Japanese plant. It's called Goshiki is 5 colors in Japanese. So it's got literally 5 different colors on the foliage. It's evergreen, has a holly leaf. Doesn't get the berries like hollies do, but it has this interesting pattern to it. Really thrives in the shade. I've tested it in the sun. This will take more sun than hollies will. Surprising how much sun this will take. But it's just a great little mounding plant, about this big, easy to care for. Probably put it on your drip system and treat it like your tree, on the same run as your trees. It would thrive. Okay. Again, it's got a waxy leaf. Waxy leaves are a defense with dry climates. Keeps them from perspiring so the roots can keep up the amount of perspiration that it goes through. And then these two are great shade plants. I'm starting to run against it. This is heuchera. It's what you see in all the magazines. This is kind of getting all the rage right now. Last couple of years it's been famous. Your grandparents called it coral bells because the flowers come out and they have this little kind of coral bell. It has hundreds of flowers. And a coral bell like flowers. But you're really planting it for that. It comes in a lot of different colors. From chocolate to red, to burgundies to green, to chartreuse. And they're very tough. The way I use this, I like it's not natural to see trees growing up with rock right next to them. That's not natural. You look at that and go, something's off with this landscape. I don't know what it is. It's because that's not natural. Trees naturally grow up in like an underplanting. They like to have plants like little gardens around them. That's where it feels and it looks better. So I use this one where I put the drip emitter to the tree. Usually you have a couple of them to a tree or so, bigger one. I'll plant this where the drip emitter is, and so the drip emitter will cycle once a week, maybe twice a week when they're young. This plant will actually take that kind of water cycle, the same cycle as the trees, and thrive. It's mostly green, so if we get a real harsh winter, it can kind of look a little rough. You clean it up and it starts to grow just like right away. It's got foliage on it most of the year. True perennial. Comes back year after year. Heuchera. And I come take a picture. It starts with an H. Or coral bells. There's a whole table of them. I just wanted to share them with you, just how I use this to up your design and make it feel more garden-esque. All right, down to the end. Here we go. This is more the hardy, sun-loving stuff. Yes, poke yourself in. Careful. There you go. Aren't those pretty? Oh my gosh, this is what you can do here. That's the only lesson I had for you. That's those echinaceas. This is echinacea, rudbeckia, black-eyed Susans. All these big, pretty summer to fall flowers. The autumn gardens are the prettiest because the flowers can put more energy into the size of the flower or more flowers because it's not as hot and the roots can keep up. So they can now support that. These two are actually really good for the birds. So I'll plant those out there because the birds love the seed heads. The winter birds that stay with me, they'll peck around looking for seed. They use it as a food source for the winter.
Are these still shade or you moved them?
These are sun. Yeah, we just moved to sun. Let's go to sun. Thank you. Good question. Let's start with my favorite. I don't know, they're all my favorite. Everyone wants to grow red tip cotinia. The new growth's a great big shrub. It gets about 12 feet tall, 12 feet wide, 12 feet deep. I mean, small children, dogs have been lost in red tip cotinia. It's huge and it's aggressive. But the new growth is red and it grows fast, so it's cheap. You can get a lot of plant for the money. I put my kids through college so they would plant. But I'm not going to plant in my yard. It's too much. It takes too much energy. Every disease in the neighborhood is going to get. Deer love to eat it. It's just high maintenance. But it grows fast. It's ready to grow. It's a #1 seller. I would rather plant this. This is silverberry, or Eleagnus. It's a native. You're seeing one out in the wild. It looks like this. Kind of a blue-green. You'll see a big shrub. That's what this is. We've just bred this one to have this gold color, so it gives you a little more interest. So this looks kind of, yeah, it's from Arizona. This looks like, oh, this could be in the front of a designer magazine. And it grows really well. It looks good against dark colored rocks, boulders. In the rugged areas, this actually shines better than the blue does. It shows up better. This is one I probably would not put on the irrigation because it's a true native. Or, here's what I do, kind of cheated. I put it on the drip irrigation. I'll water it once a week. I'll juice it with some fertilizer just so I can get it from this. I want it to be up to here. So mine are currently like 8 feet tall and wide. Just this easy to grow thing. And then once it's up to the size I want, I bend back that irrigation, the drip emitter. I spin it back, tape it off. Mainly because I'm a gardener. Think if you need me in the future, I can water you again. I've never done that again. I don't know why I don't just cut it off and plug it, but my gardener mind says I could care for it if it needs me. It won't ever need you. Easy to care for, evergreen. Silverberry. Silverberry. I think this is a better hedge. You got that? I've got cedar, 6-foot cedar fence. Our HOA says you can't have block. You got to have either iron or cedar only in the backyard, not in the front. I've got 6-foot cedar. Keep the dogs in. And cedar gets kind of, it just looks too monotonous. You want to soften that up. So I plant a few of these because it's a darker colored wood, and this just pops. It makes it feel like a secret garden. Like you just want to rest back there and enjoy a glass of wine with a friend or neighbor, just enjoy the time. That's what this is. Eleagnus. It grows with this. Folks in the Midwest would love this. This is an Indian hawthorn. It's an evergreen shrub, loves the sun. Gets a bright pink flower that's very fragrant in the spring. So this comes in a couple sizes. This is a majestic hawthorn. It gets pretty big. Gets up this size with the same yellow, bright flowers. We also have several other sizes. So pick the size that's right for you. This would be great up against a patio that's south-facing. You want that fragrance, but you want the evergreen, you want to cut some sun, some wind, this would be great. In a raised bed, in a container, bigger container this one, smaller container for the other ones. So, but Indian hawthorn, anytime you see that, or Rhaphioliptus is the Latin name. I don't know where they get that in Latin. This has been the most famous vine for the sun. And keep dropping them. So this, you're seeing a vine. Oops, my flower is just about done blooming. This is a fast-growing vine, probably one of the fastest growing of all the vines that like sun. It has big red flowers to it. You see the big vine with red flowers? That's this trumpet vine. So the trumpet vine is a very strong grower here, and the hummingbirds love it. They absolutely love this plant. It is deciduous. It'll lose its leaves. So you just basically you grow it up, usually in February, March. I take my head shears. I'll trim it back as close as I can to the arbor, to the fence, to wherever I'm growing it. Trim it right back, fertilize it, comes back aggressively the next late spring, and just has these red flowers summer through autumn. Its fall color is, pretty sure gold is the fall color on this. That's the gold. This is chokeberry. Oh, I broke it. Chokeberry, so this is a native. So you'll see this is a very strong deciduous plant. Animals don't seem to bother it. Has a white flower in spring. It gets up about head high or so. Kind of egg-shaped, multi-stemmed. But it just has a nice soft green, kind of when you touch it, it's kind of a leathery kind of foliage, which makes it very robust with the dry climate. So when we get into June and it's 10% humidity, prevailing southwest wind that wants to suck the life out of everything, this goes, I'm fine. It loves that. Full sun. And then you're seeing some berries. You see these little berries. And the robins will come in and eat the berries, usually in January, December, January. They'll use as a food source. You see a whole flock of them just like chowing down on the berries, and then they take off. The chokecherry is a good, strong, it's so strong, it borders on native. I wouldn't overwater it. If you're going to kill this one, it'll be from overwatering, not from underwatering. We're going to ground cover and grass, and we are out of here. Now, I guess I got to cover crepe myrtles, you southern folks. Texans, you're in heaven right now. Crepe myrtles grow here. Here's the thing. My southern customers, they want crepe myrtle trees. I want a big tree, crepe myrtles. Crepe myrtles don't grow here. They're sold here, not at Waters Gardens. You'll find them in the marketplace. Don't buy them. What happens is our winters, we get a cold winter, and it resets them. So they'll lose the top, and they all become a shrub. So after a few years, they just naturally become this shrub. So they get reset because the cold resets them back to the ground. And so we try to encourage folks, don't plant a crepe myrtle tree, get a crepe myrtle tree rose, get a Rosa Sharon tree rose, get a hardier variety. This is made to be a shrub. Get the shrub varieties. They love blistering hot sun. Hotter the better. Surround them with asphalt. They're going to bloom even better. This is the kind of plant it is. There's no plant that's got that bright a flower. No shrub's got as bright a flower as a crepe myrtle. So it needs at least 6 hours of sun or more. Ground covers. Go grass. We're in grass country. I use this one a lot. You either love this or you hate it. This is a red grass. It grows red, which gives you some interesting contrast. If you think reds with that just has style. Or pansies. You got pansies? Put pansies with it. It just put it in a container with wrapped with pansies. It's beautiful. It screams fall. And so grasses do really well. This is a fully mature one. It'll get bushier, but this is as tall as it gets. It doesn't really get a plume to it. You're just growing it with the style of red. You need red in the garden. This is a great plant. It's not dying. For the non-gardeners going, what's wrong with it? It needs to be green. This one's supposed to be red. So just a red sedge. Sedge does really well here. Ground covers, there's two. Cotoneaster, or cotton-easter is how you spell it. Cotoneaster, there's some wild cotoneasters. Actually, cotoneaster grows, there's a couple of varieties that grow here. This is a cousin to the native one. Only this is as tall as this will get. You're seeing that it's starting to put on these runners. So if you've got rock, you want something to crawl in between the rocks or down the face, or you've got a driveway that wants to wash away. Plant that in there, the roots will take over. So good man. Cotoneaster, cotton easter. You can come take a picture of the tag. But cotton easter is how you spell it. There's 3 or 4 of these popular. This is actually the #1 seller. The green one is. I brought this variegated one. This one, be careful. This is a periwinkle or vinca. It has a blue flower on it with 5 petals, about the size of a quarter. This is truly a weed. This will take over and choke. This one almost is like ivy. It wants to come in the house and like have dinner. It's one of those. Okay? Don't ever introduce this in the middle of the garden, or it will take over. In 3 years, you'll have nothing but this. This is one you want to plant out there at the edge, just where the irrigation neglects it. So if you've got a driveway, I've got a driveway where all the stuff in the driveway gathers and then rushes off over here. And I don't want all that oil and stuff from the kids' cars going down the stream. So I use this to suck all that stuff up. It's pretty, and take whatever you give it. And then when it gets out of control, you can drive the truck over it a few times. Maybe get it back to keep it from taking over. The vinca puts on these runners, and the runner will touch, start growing there, and then the runner touches. It just keeps growing. It's very robust. Good ground cover. Just be careful where you put it. I use this one a lot on the front edge of containers because it does this. And then I can control the roots just because it can't escape. If I control it all, it won't jump out of the pot. Usually when it gets to the ground, I'll give it a little haircut. I'll just throw out the ground, kind of make it look real groomed, looks real pretty, and it's evergreen. So in the winter, it's going to look like this. In the spring, it looks like this with blue flowers. So the vinca is really a strong grower. Pine trees. Don't have enough time to cover all the pines. Just do your homework on pines, or shop in a place that knows pine trees. Maybe Waters Garden Center. Come see us. The desert variety pine trees do grow up here. The Goldwaters, the Mondales, they grow up here, but the oaks carry a host problem, the rust that gets on them. So they grow, and then about 5 years out, they die. So just don't plant, don't be sold. Do your homework. Plants are sold up here that should not be sold up here. Just do your homework. Okay? Check watersgardencenter.com. There's a lot of information on there. It's not just a billboard. It's actually encyclopedic garden information. Okay, this is an Austrian pine. It's related to ponderosas. So ponderosas, when you plant the ponderosa pine, you're basically getting a trunk. It's going to be a trunk that's this big in the yard, and the foliage is up there somewhere. This actually holds, it's still long needle, but holds its foliage right to the ground. So it's much more finessed. It's still a central leader, still a main trunk, branches swooping off, but I find this is a much easier plant to design with. I'll try to skew you towards this one because it's just as hardy as a ponderosa, but it keeps its shape and form better. Looks better in design. This is #1 seller for shade, for windbreaks, and for privacy. This is Arizona cypress. A lot of the junipers you see growing, they're not junipers. They're Arizona cypress, especially at the lower the Skull Valleys, those areas. They're Arizona cypress. This is a true native of here. It's sold all over the planet. In fact, Lisa and I were in, where are we at? Barcelona. And of course, we love gardens, so we go to the Barcelona Botanical Gardens. Go to the market, get a bottle of wine, a loaf of bread, some cheese. We're going for the day to the gardens. Lo and behold, we're finding Arizona cypress as a specimen plant in Spain. So it's a famous plant, but it's from here. It looks innocent. It's going to be 25 feet by 12 feet wide, solid. Nothing's going to get through it. No wind, no light. You got those headlights coming into your front living room at night. This will block that out. We use it a lot in the valley areas to block the wind. For Paulden folks, beautiful vistas, great water, and wind. So this is used to block some of that wind out. And so because it's big, it's really fast growing of the evergreens. It's probably Deodar cedar's the fastest. This is the next fastest. Deodar cedar is that great big tree. They're up around 50 feet right now, 60 feet tall in your neighborhoods. It's too big for most yards because who needs an 80-foot tree by 25-foot wide? It's a monster. So I've never put that in my own gardens. For you biblical folks, the biblical name in the Old Testament is tree of Lebanon. Those are the cedars of Lebanon. That's Deodar cedar. So eventually you're going to end up being 200 feet tall by 50 feet wide. They're too big for most gardens. That's not in our lifetime. But give it 200-300 years, and yeah, they can be that big. And so I find these smaller. This is 35 feet by 12. This is 25 by 10, 12. There's some. Look at your space and put the right plant in that space for the long term, and we can help you with that. But this is for privacy, wind, that kind of stuff, and just native. Once it gets up the size, you don't have to care for it anymore. Give you a quick lesson on maples. So we sell 2 or 3 different varieties of maples, and there's a reason why. Maples love growing here. What maples have trouble with is wind. So if it gets too windy, the leaves, especially in early spring, they start to tear. We call it wind whip or wind torn. So when they're young, once they get big enough, they protect themselves. When they're smaller, they get wind whipped. So the leaves tear. This one doesn't do that. It's called Prescott Blaze or Autumn Blaze. Anytime you hear the word blaze in maple, you got a good one. It's going to work. And so this one doesn't get wind torn, and it's the fastest growing of the red maples. So what we did is we took a red maple, like Acer Rebber, the famous from the Midwest. We were in Ohio, Minnesota, that area. The maple's there. We took that maple, we grafted it onto a fast-growing silver maple, and we come up with this, a fast-growing red maple. So the root stock is silver maple, the top stock, the graft is red maple, and you get a blaze maple. But if you're going to go with a maple, this is probably the one. You figure 35 by 20. It's going to grow kind of like this, real pretty. Yeah. So I've got one next to my driveway, just kind of shade that west side, so I can wash my car in the shade, not in the blistering hot sun. This is my shade tree. If you got a back patio, where you just need that part of the yard, it's more cut the wind down and give you some shade. This is a great plant for you. And at a depth, water about once a week. It's super happy. It's easy to grow.
I have a young one in my yard with no tag. How do I know if that's what the variety?
He wants me to ID.
Yeah.
He wants me to ID his maple
Yeah.
with no tag or anything.
Yeah.
And tell him which one it is.
Thank
I have
my-
no idea.
Thank my builder for
But if you
that.
brought a leaf, in, we could probably ID it because we sell a lot of maples. We could tell you Acer Rebber as opposed to Blaze, as opposed to Japanese, as opposed to. We could tell you. So bring a sample, preferably before it's turning color. Although that might help us too. You got the color, it'll help us identify which strain it is. But we can help you ID it right now. Again, a picture, your camera phone. Take a picture. We can do a lot. When I look at your camera, I'm going to ask you to zoom in so I can see what else is growing next to that. Because now I've got companion plants. And I can figure out sun, how much, if a lilac's growing there, so will these things. So I can help you with that. So sun shade's a big deal. Wind's a big deal. Yeah,
I actually purchased one of those
good.
a couple of months ago. for you
Yeah.
guys. Doing very well. Some maples in California really tear up your sidewalks.
Yeah.
What kind of, it's not close to the house, so I'm not.
She's asking how invasive
Are
is Blaze maple or maples in general. Maples here are not like that.
Okay.
So they're not going to lift driveways, they're not going to lift pavers and walls, but sycamores will. Cottonwoods will. Willows will. Maples generally they're not notorious for that.
Okay.
I've not experienced that at all. So I've got a 25-year-old in my yard, and I do have a retaining wall. And basically it's an next over block, and I just kind of went, I wanted to go right next to the tree.
Right.
I'm seeing a little bit of left with that one block, but I really shouldn't have had that block there anyway. But the wall itself and the driveway right there, they're perfectly fine. So if you do have roots that are mischievous, probably it means you're not deep watering enough. So if you're watering your irrigation cycle frequent and not very long, you'll get very shallow plants. Plants are kind of like people. We don't want shallow, we don't like associated with shallow people or shallow plants. You don't want them deeper rooted with more knowledge, more deeper, stronger roots. And so a watering once a week, real long, pushing that water down, the roots will chase that water and they'll become less invasive. So kind of a little fun we'll take on, but basically water deeper. We had a whole class in spring on just how to water. That's a deep, deep subject. Yeah.
We have an automatic maple, it's 3 years old and we got it here. We live in Hazley Homestead.
Yep.
So we tend to have a lot of clay. And it seems to always want to kill the trees. And we use that green stuff you have.
Yeah,
Get all
the
of
fertilizer.
that. Should we continue to use the,
So she's up in Hazley, which is up in the beautiful forest area. She's got lots of pine trees. So love that area. And she keeps planting these, but she's got heavy clay soil up there. Heavy clay soil and boulders under the rock. You got like everything. Like, we don't know what to do with the rest of this. God said, just dump it there. We'll call it Hazley Homestead. It'll be fine. That's where she's gardening. Okay, so and it affects some of her maples. What should she keep planting? Yes. And I heard 2 of you in a row. Thank you very much. We'll give you the $20 bill afterwards. I bought it from Waters. Thank you very much. That's good. I heard you. So it's struggling. What you'll find is with your maples, actually all of your plants, pH, we're dealing with a very high pH. Very unusual. Everywhere else in the country is dealing with acid, acid, acid. So they're always trying to raise their pH to become more neutral. Neutral in the book, if you're reading all your garden journals, 6.5 is the perfect pH. You'll never reach that in your gardens here because your water is at 7, 8. I've seen pH tests come from Chino Valley, 9.2, 9.4. That's basically alkaline. That's basically ammonia. If you're gardening ammonia, it's like the surface of Venus. That's what you're gardening in. Things don't like that. So what will happen is that pH goes up, things start to mute. They start to become yellow. They stop blooming. The flowers get smaller. The vegetables get smaller. The flowers that come and just drop off. Those are all indications of my pH chemistry of my soil has crept up too high. And every time you water, the soil takes on whatever the pH of the water is, that's what you're going to end up with. So if your water is naturally high in pH, and all of us are dealing with the same groundwater, it's all pumped from Chino Valley to all of us. So we're all dealing with groundwater, whether you have a well or not. So that water, that pH is going to naturally creep up. So you need to add soil sulfur. Sulfur is acidic, lowers the pH. So every spring, I add soil sulfur to my entire gardens, just because I'm trying to counteract my water. Because I want roses that are like this and fragrance that just fills up the whole garden. I want lilacs that are like, whoa, I can't, that's what I remember at grandmother's house. That's what I remember. I want lilac. If the pH goes up, fragrance isn't there. Flowers are smaller. They're not as bright as they should be. So that's all indication. Or if it gets yellow, like your maples, they're turning to fall color, and the fall is like, Kim said that'd be red. It's more orange and yellow. That's a pH thing. Get the pH down, and all of a sudden it'll be a game changer. I think that'll help you as well. It's a great, great question. Great question. One last one, then we're out, because we are an hour and 20 minutes over where I wanted to be. We good to go?
Oh, yeah.
Dancing for the Stars. I'll send you the info. I'll send you the links or the handouts. Got that this afternoon. Might be this evening after dinner or something. But I'll get it to you, and I'll send you the winning performance. Okay, it's kind of fun. Take a look at it because it's basically a big old commercial. I'm a small business owner, trying to do good for my community, and it's kind of a fun, active. It's just a fun. It's a salsa, so it's a big dance, but it's also a blatant commercial. So yeah.
So this is not what you're talking about, But are you gonna have fall vegetable starts?
Yes, we are going to have fall vegetable starts. That's not the topic today, but we do have broccoli, cauliflower, lettuce, spinach. You're all down there right now.
Oh, okay.
And you can put those in right now.
Yeah,
Absolutely. In fact, you should be looking for room for pansies in your gardens. These will bloom like this right through winter. We're not like the Midwest, where it's just a fall through early winter crop. This will bloom like this through June of next year. Then finally the sun goes, it gets too hot, it just vaporizes. This likes our cold. With that, I will let you clap and say thank you very much. Next week's class is on privacy. So we'll take this theme and go deep on it. How many do you need? What are the best ones? What are fast growing? How do you plant them? Privacy. Next week's class. Thanks for coming, you all.
Thank you.